Mutation Notes!
I really wish they could see.
He was doing spooky fingers.
Hands. Yeah.
And because you probably are wondering what this man is holding, it is a glow-in-the-dark mouse.
Dun dun dun. Mutations can be caused by several factors. Replication errors can cause mutations when it copies its DNA, that if it does not copy it 100% correct, that will cause a mutation.
Yet mutagens, such as UV ray and chemicals, can cause mutations.
Which can also be called carcinogens.
So, like, you've probably heard that in what relation to, like, smoking?
Smog and...
Smog, yeah.
Yeah, those types of things.
Well, those are carcinogens that cause, or can cause, serious health issues.
That's why Mr. O'Dear has 3 arms.
This is important, so listen up. Extreme heat can cause the chemical bonds in a DNA molecule to break. And that is dangerous because these broken bonds will lead to a different sequence of the base pairs.
Okay, so normally, if you had a strand of DNA that looked like this, normally your base pairs would be, well, if it's RNA, like this. If extreme heat can cause this bond to break here and cause thymines to bond with each other instead of bonding across.
Done. Mutations are a change in DNA sequence. That's it. Okay? Because the sequence is everything for DNA. So if you start messing with the sequence, you start messing with mutations.
So a change in DNA can change the RNA, which can change the protein. A different protein means a different trait. So we know that the flow goes DNA to RNA to protein. So if we mess it up or mutate it at the very beginning, it's then going to mutate the RNA, which will then mutate the protein, causing different reactions or different products.
It's kind of like dominoes.
Hey, it is.
Good. All right, different types of mutations. First one we have is called a point mutation. This is a change in only one or a few nucleotides. There are 3 different types
of point mutations. Yep. And we can go and talk about them. So there's substitutions, alright, where one nucleotide is replaced by another. Kind of like when your teacher is gone and another teacher replaces them.
Nobody can replace me.
It's called a substitute.
Yeah, it's called a substitute for a reason. Or if you're on a football field and you get injured, your substitute takes your place. So in DNA, that would be instead of A, it gets substituted by a G, which can cause problems.
Even in basketball, they yell subs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Insertions. 1 or more nucleotides are added. Deletions is 1 or more nucleotides are removed. So lucky for you, these types of mutations are pretty self-explanatory in their name. Alright. Insertions and deletions can cause frame shifts. Since codons are 3 bases long, if nucleotides are inserted or deleted, the wrong bases will be read together from that point on, making a terribly incorrect protein, also known as a very important thing to remember.
Yeah, so it's like if you're spelling in English, that's the normal spelling. If you have an insertion, you could say, it doesn't mean leap, huh? Okay, that's when you start getting a mutation. Or a deletion, you could have, oh geez.
Just T-E.
T. Okay.
Which is you.
In Spanish, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, frame shift mutations. It's a mutation that shifts the reading frame of a genetic code by inserting or deleting a nucleotide. So we've
kind of talked about that.
So yeah, here's the examples that go a little beyond what Tolentino just said. So your original DNA sequence makes sense when it's read. The fat cat ate the rat. If we had a substitution, it wouldn't kill the entire sentence, but it would make at least one amino acid wrong, alright? If we change the
H to G.
The.
Okay,
The
so
good
yeah,
fat
so
cat
it's
ate the
the
rat.
good fat cat ate that rat. Ate the rat, my bad. And an insertion, though, changes everything, okay? Adding a G after the first H makes it Tiffiga Ifad Tat Urti.
Because inserting here
Arity.
caused
There we go.
everything to move that way.
Yeah, it shifts
So
over one.
there's fat normally, but it caused it all to shift to where it's a different word.
And there's cat normally.
Are we gonna do this?
No. I was going to, then I decided that's not worth it.
I feel like some of my kids talk to me through mutation sometimes when they say
What?
things that they substitute or insert words and I don't know what they're saying.
You're like, what?
What?
Yeah.
Your protein is incorrect.
Alright.
Oh, great. There's another one.
Oh,
Somebody
Deletion.
wrote over it, yeah.
sorry.
Womp womp. There's one little more part. So here's deleting the H altogether. Screws it up just as bad as an insertion because your reading frame gets changed the rest of the time in your sentence.
Yep, so the H disappeared there. So we still have fat.
But it's not read that way. It's
No,
read like
cat.
tef, atk,
Yep.
at
Everything moved the opposite
Per-
direction.
So there's your first codon, second, third, they no
So
longer...
wait a second, you're telling me it all shifted?
Oh, wait, so it's like a frame shift?
Yeah.
the frame shifted.
That's what I had. This is the way I thought of it. I had a teacher that explained it as if you're in a train looking out the window. That if originally, I know I heard it too. If this is your original view outside the window, ignore my terrible house as I was trying to draw.
That's a house.
Ah, shut up. This is your typical view. When the train moves, that no longer becomes your view. Everything shifts.
This is how you know that Hood grew up in a rural area.
Shut up, we had
There are
trains.
trees, houses, and plants.
Well, watch this.
A person?
And a horse.
It's a cat, a dog. Oh, what?
I'm a good drawer.
Alright, types of mutation. Was there anything else you want to say?
Nope, we're good there.
Types of mutation. Sometimes a change in the DNA does not change the protein. This can happen if there's a point mutation, but the resulting codon codes for the same amino acid. So, do we have a picture? We don't.
No.
No. So that's just talking about the redundancy in the genetic code where if you have UUG, UUA, UUU, and then UUC, I think is the only one I didn't say. All of those actually code for the exact same amino acid. So if you accidentally substituted the last nucleotide in that group, it wouldn't matter.
Because those all code for the same.
UUU is the one that wasn't
sorry.
upset.
They all code for the same
Amino
protein.
acid, yeah.
So it doesn't matter. So if we change this one from G to an A, it would still code for that same protein. So it does not make a difference.
Okay, the significance of mutations. Do you want to read a second?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Mutations that lead to new traits are needed for evolution to occur. If the mutation helps the organism, then that new gene should become more common in the population over time because it's helpful, and helpful mutations would help you live longer and do other things better.
For example, down south there are rattlesnakes that have mutated to where they no longer have a rattler because the ones with the smaller rattler were surviving. Eventually their genes mutated to where the rattlers were completely gone because the ones with the large rattlers made louder sounds and were being killed by predators and humans.
Humans.
They're evil.
Mutations can happen randomly due to mistakes in replication, but they can also be caused by environmental factors called mutagens. And that's your UV rays, your carcinogens, and
Green ooze.
yeah, if you're a
Teenage Mutant.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, not an alien, like the new Michael Bay ones,
Stupid.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Right.
bad?
And why
Ew, it's
Mr. Rodier is superhuman.
Also, I guess a mutagen would be extreme heat, because that can break your bonds and do terrible things. Examples of mutagens include, you need to keep pushing these buttons.
I do.
Radiation, like gamma rays and X-rays,
And those come
chemicals
from...
called...
Sorry.
No, I was actually referring to the sun. But yes, the Incredible Hulk.
I shouted out before you.
Or nuclear reactors, yeah.
That happens.
Carcinogens found in paint, so don't eat paint, etc. Heat and UV light.
That's it.
Congratulations.
Am I still fired?
And you're still a mutant.
Teenage